Hello and welcome to the Ant-Man channel. It is the 3rd of January, Friday, the 3rd of January 2014. Happy New Year. I'm your host, Ant-Man, and I got some news here that I've been wanting to report for the last, this came to me 4 days ago, but yeah, the moment I got it, I wanted to report it. I just haven't had time. You know, holidays are busy, and forgive me. But I know you've already heard of it. Everybody has. If you pay attention to the alternative source of media, not the controlled corporate whore media. But here is what's in the news today on WND in the category of health. This is written by Steve Elwert. WND exclusive: Japan radiation poisoning America? Maybe the West Coast? That sucks for me because that's where I'm at. New concerns hitting U.S. Pacific coast. They have a picture here of some tuna caught off California, and it's showing evidence of radiation poisoning. And it's an RT photo. It just looks like, well, I guess I'll show you. It has a little bit of some dark blue-ish on its bottom lip. And that can't be good for the poor animals, you guys. Like a slow-motion train wreck, the Fukushima nuclear plant disaster is still causing damage long after the world's media has left the news story behind. On March 11, 2011, the most powerful earthquake ever hit Japan triggered a tsunami with waves that reached as high as 144 feet. These waves swamped the Fukushima nuclear power plant complex, causing a resulting shutdown, leading to the world's worst nuclear incident since the 1986 Chernobyl disaster. I was born in 1986. The accident has been rated as level 7. So the accident has been rated on level 7 on a scale of 1 to 7 on the International Nuclear Event Scale. As a result of this disaster, the complex's coolant pumps failed to operate and the power plant reactors overheated, leading to a release of radionuclides directly into the ocean, exceeding that from any previous accident. Water is currently being pumped into the reactors in an attempt to keep them cool and prevent further explosions. But handling the water is becoming a problem. The contaminated cooling water is being released directly into the ocean and is making its way into the ecosphere. Water from the storage tanks has also seeped into the groundwater from there into the ocean. Efforts to use various barriers to prevent contamination have not completely stopped the leakage. In another effort to stem the radioactive water from reaching the sea, Japan has pledged to spend $470 million to construct an ice wall around the reactors to contain the water. Under the Japanese plan, a wall of frozen earth will be constructed around the reactors to prevent the water being used to pump the fuel rods from comingling with the sea. Let's see. The world is closely watching whether we can dismantle the Fukushima plant, including the issue of contaminated water, said Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. The government is determined to work hard to resolve the issue. This is quite a change from previous statements from the Prime Minister that he has made. In a speech September 7th in front of the International Olympic Committee in Buenos Aires, Abe stated categorically, "Let me assure you the situation, the contaminated groundwater problem is under control." I mean, anyone who would say that so casually has to be questioned, in my opinion. It's not anything that you should take lightly, this entire event and this entire situation that's going on in Japan right now. They're saying that the entire country can be taken just straight off of the face of the earth because of this, and everybody will have to evacuate. And if there really is radiation coming from over here, then that means that the entire west coast of the United States would probably have to evacuate as well, because we're going to be eating nuclear poisoned stuff, and I don't know, we can't be doing that. 6 days later, Tokyo Electric Power Company, the operator of the plant, just disputed the Prime Minister's claim as a meeting in Koriyama, Fukushima Prefecture. "We regard the current situation as not being under control," said Kazuhiko Yamashita, a senior official at TEPCO. I think all the leaders around the world are so they have this I guess you could call it this false bravado. Because it's not even that they're to me, power is having integrity. Someone has some water to them, But it seems like with all politicians these days, they seem like they all can just brush big problems off of their, you know what I mean? They're just whatever. They're all whatever to them, and it's that just shows the level of commitment and dedication that they have to what they're doing. They're just probably, they're living alternative lifestyles. They're not really giving a damn about you guys out there. I used to think the government cared about me once upon a time when I was an EMT, which wasn't too long ago. And I was woken up very rudely by my Armenian friend, who was my partner, and kind of like he was pretty much my, I don't even remember what they call them. He was like a field training officer, an FTO, and he was telling me that I was pretty naive, and I was thinking about that stuff for a while, and I was like, you know what, he's right. I never thought about this stuff before, and whenever I looked at politics, I'd always say, that's stuff I'll never ever be able to figure out, but now I have it so. It's so simple. Just study the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. Those are the two things that will get you on the right start to knowing about why we have the structure of government that we have, and why so many people like myself, who people are going to call conservatives or Christians or whatever, they say that nowadays people try to really give the Constitution a different interpretation, and it's that's why our power our power's been taken away and our rights get abused because people can get away with it because of the I think it was Thomas Jefferson or someone who said that it takes a moral upright, takes a Christian to really know how to defend his liberties. And I don't know if he said it exactly like that, but I know what he meant, and that's that you have to be someone who's dedicated to learning and staying educated and having a spirit of having that humble spirit of learning, that knowing that you are more ignorant than you think you are. Your judgment's very clouded by most of just it's mostly has to do with a lot of spiritual stuff. But I'll let you deal with that on your own time. I'll get back into this. Tokyo was awarded the 2020 Olympic Games following Abe's speech. The quantities of water they are dealing with are absolutely gigantic, said Michael Schneider, an independent consultant who has previously advised the French and German governments and has consulted widely for a variety of organizations and countries on nuclear issues. What is worse is the water leakage everywhere else. Not just from the tanks, it is leaking out from the basements, it is leaking out from the cracks all over the place. Nobody can measure that. This is ridiculous. This is an issue, by the way. This is not something like somebody getting knocked out by some random guy on the street. This is a gigantic issue. It is clear that the repercussions from this disaster are far from over. There has been a debate over the size of the Pacific Ocean and the quantity of the contamination. Some say that even though the U.S. is directly across the ocean from the accident, the volume of the water will easily disperse the contaminants. Others say that particular isotopes from the reactor do not disperse easily and don't sink to the bottom. They remain in the water column from top to bottom. In this last scenario, sea life has a much greater chance of contacting and carrying the suspended radiation. They either breathe it or they eat it in others. Scientists are watching carefully for any signs of contamination in the ocean's biosphere. According to Maxim Shingarkin, Deputy Chairman of Russia's State Duma Committee for Natural Resources, currents in the world ocean are so structured that the areas of seafood captured near the U.S. Northwest coast are more likely to contain radioactive nuclides than even the Sea of Okhotsk, which is much closer to Japan. These products are the main danger for mankind because they can find their way to people's tables on a massive scale. This is an issue of significant importance to the United States, since according to the National Marine Fisheries Service, the U.S. imported almost 45 million pounds of fish after Japan in 2012. There is evidence that radioactive water emanating from the plants starting 2 years ago had made its way into the ocean currents and will soon start to affect the ecosystem in North America as early as the spring of 2014. This is crazy. Some say it is already here. Reports are coming in that the North American food supply is already being affected by Fukushima. Bluefin tuna caught off the San Diego coast is showing evidence of radioactive contamination. This is the first time that a migrating fish has been shown to carry radioactivity 3,000 miles from Fukushima to the U.S. Pacific coast. It is a nutrition source that accounts for approximately 2,000 or 20,000 tons of the world's food supply each year.
According to the report published by the National Academy of Sciences, we report unequivocal evidence that Pacific bluefin tuna, Thunis orientalis, transported Fukushima-derived radionuclides across the entire North Pacific Ocean. This is ridiculous, you guys. We were frankly kind of startled, said Nicholas Fisher, one of the researchers reporting the findings online Monday in the proceeding of the National Academy of Sciences. That's a big ocean to swim across it and still retain these nuclides, radionuclides, is pretty amazing, Fisher said. To rule out the possibility the radiation found in the tuna was carried by ocean currents or dropped into the ocean through rainfall from the atmosphere, the team also analyzed yellowfin tuna, found in the eastern Pacific, and bluefin that migrated to Southern California. Before the nuclear crisis, they found no trace of cesium-134 and only background levels of cesium-137 left over from nuclear weapons testing in the 1960s. The report went to say the levels of radioactive cesium were 10 times higher than the amount measured in tuna off the California coast in previous years. But even so, that's still far below safe-to-eat limits set by the U.S. and Japanese governments. Let me see if... It's a pretty long article. I'll try to get through it without stopping. The results were surprising enough to conduct further tests this coming summer with a larger sampling of migratory fish. The tuna that were the subject of the previous study were exposed to radiation from Fukushima for approximately 1 month. The upcoming study will be looking at fish that have been swimming in radioactive waters for a longer period. They will also be expanding their study to cover other migratory species, including sea turtles, sharks, and seabirds. There have been many other reports of fish and sea creature populations dying in the Pacific. Also, there have been many discoveries of cesium-137 in high concentrations in seafood caught in the Pacific and sold in North America. There have also been many reports of unexplained deaths among wildlife. Vast amounts of sea stars are melting off the west coast of North America. Killer whales are dying off the coast of British Columbia. There is an epidemic of sea lion deaths due to starvation along the California coastline. The question is, why are they starving? Has the food chain been disrupted? Polar bears, seals, and walruses along the Alaska coastline are suffering from fur loss and open sores. Along the Pacific coast of Canada and the Alaska coastline, the population of sockeye salmon is a historic low. Oh, that's horrible news for me because I love sockeye salmon. Something is causing fish all along the west coast of Canada to bleed from their gills, bellies, and eyeballs. Experts have found very high levels of cesium-137 in plankton living in the waters of the Pacific Ocean between Hawaii and the west coast, affecting the food chain in a process called biomagnification. As of now, there has been no direct correlation between these events and Fukushima, but the timing of the events and some contributing factors are giving scientists pause and are giving substance for cause for more studies. No, duh. But are we going to put money toward that? Probably not, because we rather have spending for other evil things. I don't think that the government really pays attention to this, in my opinion. I don't watch the news too much, but I don't hear them really reporting stuff like this either. I have like some apps on my phone that show me updates that like CNN or ABC or whatever they update you with, and they don't tell you about this stuff. But then again, it's probably because it's not in their best interest too. But I don't think that they really. This will probably be under the conspiracy theory file. You know what I mean? Like this is one of those things that the ignorant masses won't even turn a blind eye to, I guess, because nothing is real. Nothing is real. While the evidence while the evidence may circumstantial at this point, he didn't write that out well. It is enough for countries to take action. I love it when journalists forget to write something correctly and they make me look fun, silly, funny, whatever you want to call it. I know I look silly in some other videos trying to read misprints or whatever you want to call them. How much time do I have? Anyways, I'm just going to wrap it up. If you want to look it up, because I don't want to take up your time, Japan Radiation Poisoning America, WND.com, under the column Health. I encourage you to go look this up for yourself. Since nobody's going to tell you about it, you got to look out for yourself, and you're welcome, because this is what I do. Welcome, and Happy New Year. God bless.